One of the most mysterious cases this year for me is Riley Strain's death. He's the guy who was in Nashville at Luke Bryan's bar. He went missing. 2 weeks later, they found his body in the river. And everybody is saying, the coroner and everybody else, that it's accidental. Something weird about this.
So what's really weird is they find him with no pants, no shoes, and they're not anywhere on the riverbed, so where did they go?
And it's hard to take that off in the water, right?
I feel like it could have been accidental, but the fact that we don't have the clothes that he was last seen in just makes me feel like there is some foul play.
So here's what we have seen so far from the surveillance. This is Riley leaving the bar, Luke Bryan's bar, and he clearly looks wasted, right?
Yeah.
So no doubt about that. Now, the next video. Here he is continuing to walk. Now watch what happens. Clearly impaired, right?
Where's he going in such a hurry?
We don't know where he's going.
He may not know where he's going either, unfortunately.
So this is the last video of him walking around. And again, he's messed up. But here's the weird thing. Now watch this, that shortly before he disappeared, he had an interaction with a cop. Listen carefully to this.
How you doing, sir?
I'm good, how are you?
Good.
I know that's not a lot, but he said, I'm good, how are you? He sounds okay.
Well, I think that's the adrenaline that kicks in when you see a cop. You're like, okay, I gotta keep my together for about 2 seconds till this cop is out of my sphere, and that's what he did.
Okay, I will concede this. He did have almost triple the legal limit in his system.
0.22.
So he was clearly wasted. We know that.
The fact is that even with this accidental passing away, there was no water found in his lungs.
Drowning victims all the time will often not have any water in their lungs because during the process of floating around the river, it gets expelled.
But he's in the river with no pants, with no boots. How does that happen?
Nobody's really thinking about the idea that he could have fallen into the water and took the clothing off himself in an attempt to be a better swimmer, especially if he's inebriated. Kick off your boots, take off your pants, they're waterlogged because you slipped in while you were at the edge of the water.
Kicking off your boots in the water is hard.
He had a belt. You know, that's tough to just get off unless it was intentional.
That's a big deal.
I think that he was so wasted that I could see a scenario where he removes his clothing for whatever reason, his boots, he goes near the water. From what I've read, it's like a 40-foot drop. So he just lost his footing and he fell in.
Don't you think there'd be injuries on the body for falling down an embankment like that? The autopsy didn't indicate any.
Maybe he planned to go in the water. He's so drunk.
Where are the clothes?
Well, that's like a homeless embankment. They would take his clothes.
Okay, here's the thing about that. If you're right, and he took his clothes off on the riverbank, it would have been next to the credit card. And if some homeless guy is seeing the clothes and takes the clothes, he's gonna also take the credit card.
I think it's more likely he was actually meeting up with somebody, right? Because even though he's really intoxicated or whatever, he's heading away from the hotel.
Away from where he was staying.
Right, he had some idea that he was gonna go somewhere else. And why? If he's telling his friends he's going back to the hotel, he goes a different direction. I think he was probably going to meet up with somebody, and then he was kind of in a hurry, like, I'm gonna meet a girl, whatever.
But he's not from there. He was drunk. He probably thought he was going in the right direction. He was genuinely going in the wrong one.
He already wasn't making good decisions. He got kicked out of a bar for a reason, right?
I think it's more likely somebody jumped him because they saw he was drunk. This happens all the time, figuring, hey, those are some nice jeans and sneakers, bro. And then, you know, he was passed out or whatever, and then they took his stuff.
Well, then how does he get in the river?
They throw him in the river. I mean, the other thing too is when you're drunk, you can feel overheated. You can feel hot, okay? I mean, when you're drunk, you're like, I'm so hot. And so maybe he took off the clothes because he was like, and maybe that was why the water seemed appealing. He's like, I'm so hot, I want to just cool myself.
If you're that hot, you take your shirt off.
Here's the problem for all of us, is we're trying to judge this as rational, logical, sober people, what a highly intoxicated individual's doing. And the truth of the matter is that people who are intoxicated have a higher likelihood of dying by accidents. They just do.
Does it concern anybody here that he was with a bunch of fraternity brothers?
Yes.
And nobody went out to help.
My friends would never, if one of us gets kicked out of the club, we are all leaving. You're with your bros, you're not in your college town, you're in a place where you don't know anybody. Why would nobody be with him?
Because there were some hot chicks in there, and they didn't want to give up on that, so they're like, hey, you're on your own, bro.
Yeah, and he said, I'm gonna go meet this girl, I got her number, she's gonna meet me down by the bridge.
His friends would have said something.
Well, maybe they didn't mention it because they're scared because they did nothing.
Oh, they all lawyered up as soon as this came out.
Right, a lot of them lawyered up, so it's not surprising they're not coming forward to the police because they have their own conduct to answer for.
The biggest thing for me that kind of triggered some was the fact that I think he had like a cell signal that was sent out. He made a call or made a Snapchat to like one of his friends before he disappeared mysteriously. In the back of my mind, I'm thinking, what if he was being followed?
In that second video, he is not walking, he is running to something or from something. He could have been running and scared, and no, there's no signs of foul play, so they say, but we know that he at least fell once. So where's the bruising or the abrasions from that?
Clearly accidental to you?
I think it was.
There's no scenario where pants and a belt just kind of rip off your body while you're in the water, unless there's something that is pulling them off. So I understand why the public has questions and why this isn't as cut and dry as people think.